bus downtown when you can get a date for 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace price. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today. Reality star and high-powered attorney Eboni K. Williams caused a firestorm of controversy during an interview with Iyanla Vanzant, where she stated that she would not date a bus driver. Now, according to Eboni K. Williams, the high-powered attorney and one of the reality stars of The Real Housewives of New York, she believes that she deserves better than a bus driver, and when Iyanla Vanzant posed the question to her, she expressed contempt towards bus drivers and other blue-collar men by saying that she would only date those men if they were the owner of a bus company. Now, Iyanla Vanzant was using bus driver as a code word for black men, and basically what Eboni K. Williams was saying aggressively was that she was actually better than most of the black men who are currently a part of the social marketplace. Now, when I take a critical look at Eboni K. Williams, she's basically another one of these sedity black females that I talk about in depth in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And your Eboni K. Williams is one of these black women who has been indoctrinated into feminism, and as she's been indoctrinated into feminism, she believes that she is one of these strong, educated, single, successful, well-educated black women who deserves a partner who meets her ideals. Unfortunately, her ideals are completely unrealistic because there is no man who will ever meet those ideals, because those ideals have been fashioned by Madison Avenue and Hollywood to create what they call the quote-unquote good man. And no man will ever meet these unrealistic standards because these standards are something that come out of an imagination and create a social construct of a man who basically does not exist. And what Eboni K. Williams is doing is basically trying to chase this unicorn, and as she tries to chase this unicorn, what she's doing is looking to denounce all sorts of brothers out here and say that they are unworthy of dating her. Now, when it comes down to black men, a lot of brothers out here are bus drivers, and those blue-collar brothers actually do make more money than an Eboni K. Williams ever would. Now, here in New York, a MTA bus driver can go out here and make six figures, and with overtime, they can make as much as $250,000 to $300,000 a year. So your bus drivers out here make really good money because these are union jobs, and these brothers make lots of good money on these jobs. But to Eboni K. Williams, she's one of these hypergamous females, and as a hypergamous female, she is looking to clout chase and get the ideal man that she saw Madison Avenue and Hollywood create. What she wants is a high-value, high-status male that she can go out here and have as an attachment on her arm. And what she wants to do is have this man as an attachment on her arm to try to make it appear that she has high social marketplace value. What she wants to do is use a man as a tool to make it appear like she is someone who is a high value person. This is something many women want to do. What they want to do is get themselves a high profile man with a high status title. And what they want to do is go out here and have this man, not because they love him for the content of their character. No, they want him for for all of the color of his status. And that's what Eboni K. Williams really wants. And she really wants a high status man so that she can have him around to brag to her friends that she's a big shot. And as a big shot, she went out here and got the man with the highest social status. That is what Eboni K. Williams wants as a man. Unfortunately, that man basically does not exist. And those who meet those ideals, she cannot really aspire to be with, because in the past, your Eboni K. Williams did have a kind of man like that, and that white man basically treated her like a side piece. Now, in the past, your Eboni K. Williams had a high status man, a CFO named Stephen Glenn, a white man, and as she was involved with this white man, he did not treat her as the high status woman she believes. No, what this guy did basically was treat her like a side piece, like the late David Carroll talked about as related to his classic rabbit hole videos. And he basically did not see her as somebody who he believed to be relationship material. Now, according to reports, this CFO got involved with Eboni K. Williams, and eventually during the pandemic, they wound up breaking up. And they wound up breaking up because he said he couldn't be with her during the pandemic. But I have to call BS on that, because if this man were truly serious about getting involved with her, he would have gotten on and introduced her to his children, and he would have gone out here and actively had her as a part of his home, even during the pandemic, because most boyfriends went out there to see their girlfriends during the pandemic, and they weren't even thinking about any of this whole thing as related to this whole COVID narrative. No, all they were thinking about was getting into that skid mark jockey thong and getting their taste of the atomic waste. But this says that this man really wasn't that concerned about Eboni K. Williams. No, he basically looked at her and said, hey, I'm going to use this pandemic as a reason to get rid of this side piece and go out here and look for whoever I want to get with. But Eboni K. Williams thinks that she still deserves a high status man. And again, when she thinks of high status men, she does not think of black men. No, she thinks of white men. And that's because she has become spellbound and deifies and worships white men, like the late David Carroll used to talk about. And when she thinks of an ideal high status man, she thinks of a white man. And she thinks that she deserves a white man over a black man. And she thinks a white man will allow her to be a part of a high status relationship. Unfortunately, the reason possibly why this dude wound up dropping her was because he felt he could go out here and do better than this side piece, and he decided to go out here and move on from her. But she still has the delusional and unrealistic standard that she can go out here and pull another guy like this white man. And what she's doing is hoping, wishing, and praying that another high-status white man will get involved with her. And she's willing to go out here and settle for being that white man's side piece rather than go out here and be the wife of a bus driver. And this just shows, again, the complete contradiction as related to Eboni K. Williams. She's sitting here and she talks about how she wants black men to be of a high standard and says she won't date the six-figure bus driver, but she's willing to go out here and lower her standard as related to her so-called personal preference to go out here and be the white man's side piece. She's willing to say, oh, a single, successful, well-educated black woman should go out here and settle for being the side piece of a white man rather than go out here and be the wife and the helpmeet of a black man who is a bus driver. And again, this shows that it's just not about economics, because again, the bus driver makes six figures in cities like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, and has far more job security than even some of these executive white men. And these men can go out here and build long-term wealth. But with women like Eboni K. Williams, they want to have high social status. And what they want to do is go out here and elevate their status by being the attachment to a white man. And that's basically what Eboni K. Williams is waiting for. She's waiting for another white man to go out here and get involved with. Unfortunately, what's happens is that she's 39 years old. She's on her way to hitting the wall, and she's on her way to having a social marketplace value of a $5 food stamp without the book. Now, in Eboni K. Williams' eyes, because she's been indoctrinated into feminism, she believes that her social marketplace value is still at the same level it was when she was a young 20-something woman. And in Eboni K. Williams' delusional eyes, she believes that because she is a single, successful, well-educated professional woman, that her social marketplace value increases because she has a college degree and a professional job as an attorney and is a so-called celebrity on a reality show. She believes that her social marketplace value is extremely high, but most men who are out here do not see her in the same delusional and exaggerated way that she sees herself. No, most men see her as basically a 39 going on 40-year-old bust down, and they see her social marketplace value again as being a $5 food stamp without the book. But she's thinking that she is somebody who has a higher social marketplace value, and she thinks that she's better than what she thinks she can get. She thinks that she can go out here and pull these high status guys, but the whole thing is that most of the high status guys have moved on from her, and she basically threw away her best years by going out here and becoming the side piece to a white man. And she basically thinks that because she can go out here and pull another rich white man, because many women, like I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis, who have been indoctrinated into feminism, believe that they have all the time in the world. Unfortunately, what Eboni K. Williams doesn't understand is her time is almost up in this social marketplace, and her time is almost up because she's 39 going on 40 years old, and many of the men who used to chase her, usually they have walked away from her because they've either gone out here and got married, they've gone out here and some of them have died, and some of them have gone to prison. So the pool of men who used to chase Eboni K. Williams in her 20s, that pool of men basically doesn't exist at this point. And even if there were guys who would have been interested in her based on her looks, Eboni K. Williams basically would have alienated all of those guys because her attitude is just so condescending and she's just so arrogant. And that is the thing that has upset many men as related to her statements. And what makes it even worse is that she doubles down on these statements. And I believe she doubles down on these statements part of her hubris and also part of creating bait language, because one of the things I talk about in my book, Misadventures of Captain Save 'em, is that women like this know, basically subconsciously, they are in bust downtown. They know that their social marketplace value has dropped to 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace price. And what they want to do is go out here and cause a controversy in the hopes of drawing attention to themselves. Unfortunately, this attention that Ebony K. Williams has drawn to herself is actually going to drive men away from her, because now they know that she is a person who is incompatible with them, and she's incompatible because she's one of these feminist, indoctrinated, single, successful, well-educated black women with a sedity attitude who thinks she's better than a man and will try to talk down and condescend to any man, whether it be a bus driver or a high-status black man. No man will ever be able to receive respect from this woman, and that is the barometer that men will go out here and judge an Ebony K. Williams by, that she is not ever thinking about, because she's so caught up in her feelings about trying to get a high-status man that she's not thinking about how she's leaving a terrible first impression on all of the single professional men out there like myself. When we look at an Ebony K. Williams and the impression of her, she's not somebody anybody would want to consider for any sort of date or relationship, because the first thing we see from her is this arrogance. We see her condescending to men, we see her talking down to men and talking bad to men, and even worse, she doubles down in her hubris, arrogantly saying that men need to do better, not understanding the irony is that men are going to do better by not dealing with her and her unrealistic standards, because life is too short to sit there and be stressed by a woman who clearly has a delusional and unrealistic view of men, has a delusional and unrealistic set of expectations that do not fit the confines of reality, and someone who sees a man as an attachment she can use to clout chase and elevate her social status. So most men who are bus drivers, they're not going to see this woman as a viable partner to be a helpmeet or a support to them in looking to build a household and build a family, because this woman does not meet the basic standards for a man. And one of the most basic standards a man like myself has is we want to be respected. That is the foundation that I've seen ever since I was about 13 going on 14 years old, that many of these young black girls and black women don't understand. They don't understand that if you want to get a man, you need to show him respect. Unfortunately, because feminism taught many of our black women that they don't need to respect a man, what happens is they go out here thinking that they can talk down to a man, condescend to a man, and treat a man like he is less than. And this basically alienates them from men, and it alienates them from men who possibly would have been quality men. And what's sad about Ebony K. Williams is that even when an older woman like Iyanla Vanzant, who's a radical feminist, is trying to talk to her, she is out here adamantly staying on these positions, trying to make it look like, oh, I'm so much better. And it was sad that Iyanla Vanzant was still trying to check her, and she refused to listen to an older woman who was on the road to being in Bus Downtown at 70% off. I mean, you have a woman who's in the 70% off pile trying to keep her out of the 80% off and going on free pile of Bus Downtown in apartment 8D. But we have this woman who insists on doubling down on her position, not understanding that she's basically turning off the few men in that pool of simps who basically would have considered her as somebody they might have wanted to date. But the minute she opened her mouth, it didn't matter how attractive she was, because she showed how ugly she was in terms of values and character. And it was those values and character that showed many men that this woman was not somebody they wanted to be their wife, because a woman who you consider for being a wife is a helpmeet who will look to help you. And this woman isn't going to be able to help you in any way, shape, or fashion. No, all she's going to do is help break a man down by castigating him, verbally abusing him, and emotionally abusing him. And with black men having a lot of stress in their life, they don't really need to add a partner in who's going to go out here and be just as bad as all of the stresses they deal with. Now, what Eboni K. Williams really doesn't understand about black men being bus drivers is that black men had to take the job of a bus driver because in many cases, white supremacy goes out here and denies black men like myself an opportunity to work in places like corporate America to become the high status males that she so-called desires. Now, white supremacy will go out here and you could have a degree and have all of the skills as a black man like myself. I graduated at the top of my class in my college, and the whole thing is these white supremacists will go out here and use their white feminists and even some black women to erect an HR brick wall, and that keeps many black men from becoming high status black men. And they can't enter that workplace because these people are gatekeepers and they build up a wall to keep black men out. And many black men will go out here, again, looking to work towards becoming that type of executive type black man. But what will happen is those black men won't be able to enter into that workplace because, again, you've got these feminists and these black women creating this HR brick wall, and this HR brick wall keeps black men from coming in, not to mention the old boy and old female networks go out here and keep those black men from, if they do come in, from getting promoted, because these saboteurs will go out here and look to get a black man fired, even from low-level jobs that pay $25,000 to $26,000 a year. This is what I ran into at City College of New York. And again, this is the reason why you're not seeing any black men in these circles, because white supremacy keeps those black men out. And the only jobs many brothers can get are things like security or things like a bus driver. Those are the few jobs a brother can get. And one of the reasons why we can't get jobs outside of bus driver and security or other jobs is because you get gatekeepers like Eboni K. Williams who are caught up in their delusions about, oh, I want this high status black man, but they don't want to work with a black man towards building him up so that he can go to that next level. That's the other part of the delusion of an Eboni K. Williams. She's sitting there thinking, oh, high status black men are not there because they're lazy. No, high status black men are people who need to be built, and it takes time to build and cultivate those kinds of men. It takes time for those men to develop the business skills and the connections to become that kind of executive. And this is the thing that flies over the head of an Eboni K. Williams. She doesn't understand that in order to get that successful brother, that takes years of development and cultivation, and it's hard to do that when you have a bunch of crab in the bucket black males and black females. I know this from experience because I ran into it when I was working at AmeriCorps Vista at Strive, and I showed great promise, and the vice president took me to lunch to tell me that he had no place for me in his organization. Here's a guy who's going out here showing promise, but instead of helping that brother, this black man wanted to become a crab in a barrel because he wanted to be the man as related to that company, and he couldn't stand that a guy who went to a smaller local college was doing work on the level of a guy who came from Cornell University, an Ivy League university. So I know all about these kinds of people. Again, I've traveled in these circles, and again, a lot of these people, they want to be the crabs in the bucket. They don't want to see any other high status black men. So they go out here and talk about, oh, I won't date a bus driver, but then I won't help build up the kind of man that I want. And not understanding, again, these men don't just appear in social circles, because this is what happens when you get a miseducation from Madison Avenue and Hollywood. You think that these kinds of men, they just grow on trees. No, these kinds of men who become high status, so-called successful men, these men are built over time, and it takes time to build these kind of men up. And quality women who have good character understand that they get in on the ground floor on these brothers early on in life, when these brothers are in college getting ready to graduate, or they're starting up a business, or they're working at the MTA, they will go out here and work with those men towards building wealth. But an Eboni K. Williams, she wants a man already established, and this is why she got involved with a CFO who made her his side piece and turned her out and sent her packing to the door during the pandemic. This is why he turned her out, and she's sitting there talking about how she wants better when she settled for less when she became a side piece, and the irony again flies over her head. She's sitting there talking about how she wants a black man to be high status, but she was willing to settle for being a white man's side piece, and she's sitting there talking about how she wants black men to go out here and not be bus drivers, not understanding blue-collar brothers, even though white supremacy has oppressed them, have gone out here and made just as much money as she does, and they make more money longer because they have job security. And again, these bus drivers out here, a lot of these brothers, while they've got their CDL and can drive a bus, many of these guys, when they're not on the job, are driving Lexuses. Many of these guys are driving exotic cars like Lamborghinis if they want to. Many of them have their house paid for. Many of them have all of their money taken care of. And others have side businesses. So she's sitting there discounting the bus driver, talking about, I'll only get with him if he owns the bus company, not understanding many of these brothers are out here making lots of money with real estate. Many of them are flipping cars. Many of them have all sorts of hustles. So I never discount the blue-collar brothers, because a lot of blue-collar brothers are making bigger green than the white-collar dude. And this is the thing that flies over the heads of a Sadiddy chick who is looking to clout chase. This Sadiddy chick looking to clout chase doesn't even understand how many of these blue-collar brothers have higher value than your high value man. And as she's sitting in bus downtown in apartment 8D, she's sitting there thinking that she's going to get a so-called good man that Madison Avenue in Hollywood told her she was going to get, when all she's getting is a view of the graveyard and the space that she might possibly wind up in as she's single for the rest of her life. And what will make her single for the rest of her life is that nasty attitude that she presented as related to black men, because I think when she's, again, the code word for black men was bus driver, and she wanted to express contempt for black men, because now that she's been the side piece of a white man, she thinks she can do better than a black man, and she thinks that she can go out here and do better than that black man, and she thinks she can get another shot at a white man. That's why she was out here being so arrogant and condescending. She believed she could go out here and do better than a black man. And she believed that, I can do better than a bus driver. And her emotions got her saying things that, again, make it where most men see her as someone they don't want to get involved with. Because when I listened to Eboni K. Williams and then I heard about her background, I clearly saw a textbook example of the feminist indoctrinated woman that I wrote about in my book, The Woman Crisis, and I saw someone who basically presented an example of why 70% of black women are single, and this woman basically is going to be single, and she's going to be in bus downtown at 90% off, because most guys aren't going to want to deal with her because of her attitude, and she's basically put a nail in the coffin in her efforts to try to make the bait for the simps out here to play Captain Save 'em. But with her going out here and excreting a big glob of kryptonite doo-doo, she's basically repulsed every man, and she's going to wind up in bus downtown until they wind up taking her washed up ass out of the washing machine, and that's just stopped, and the attendant is going to take the skid mark thong, drop it into the trash, and call it a day, because Eboni K. Williams has basically written the warrant that will lead to her being single for the rest of her life. Now, if you want to learn how to avoid being single for the rest of your life like Eboni K. Williams is, you can pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Why 70% of Black Women Are Single at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to learn why women like Eboni K. Williams become dysfunctional like this, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Woman Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me do more videos talking about relationships, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available for the first time in paperback, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Learn all the reasons why so many Black women can't find a husband and why 70% of Black women are single. Get your copy of Why 70% of Black Women Are Single on Amazon.com today.